Close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to remember, to feel the ghost of a world that is gone. Imagine the chill in the air, the scent of pine and cold earth, the sound of your own breath frosting in the dawn light. And then, a silence, so profound it has weight. This is California, but not as you know it. This is the Pleistocene, and you are not alone. You are being watched. From the shadows of the juniper trees, a shape moves, low to the ground, a symphony of muscle and intent. It is the color of dried grass, of stone. It is a phantom. And then it stops, and it turns its head, and you see them. Two daggers of enamel curved like a crescent moon, framing a jaw that seems to smile at your mortality. This is Smilodon Fatalis, the saber-toothed cat. But he is not a monster. He is a king. And this is the story of how his perfect kingdom betrayed him. The story of how being the best at what you do can be a death sentence. To understand the tragedy, we must first understand the king. We must appreciate the sheer genius of his design. This was not just a big cat. This was a creature honed by evolution into a single, devastating purpose. Let's start with what everyone sees first, the sabers. 7, 8, sometimes 9 inches long. They weren't just teeth, they were scimitars. But they were fragile. Imagine the finest crystal vase sharpened to a razor's edge. You wouldn't use it to bludgeon a door. You would use it with precision. And precision was this cat's specialty. His jaw could open to an incredible 120-degree angle. A lion can only manage about 65 degrees. This was a gateway to the afterlife for its prey. But to power that bite, you need an engine. And my God, what an engine it was. Look at his neck. It was a pillar of muscle, anchoring a skull built for one specific, violent motion. Look at his chest and shoulders. A lion is an athlete. A Smilodon was a wrestler. His forelimbs were proportionally thicker, stronger, and more powerful than any big cat alive today. He had a bulldog build. This was an animal that could, quite literally, wrestle a 1,500-pound bison to the ground and hold it there. And his tail was short, stubby, not the rudder of a cheetah built for speed. This was an animal of ambush. He didn't chase, he chose. He would wait, a statue of lethal patience in the tall grass behind a rock downwind of a water hole. And then he would unleash a single explosive leap. He would slam into his prey, using his immense body weight and those piston-like forelimbs to unbalance, topple, and pin. And once the prey was pinned, helpless, the act was final. His head would crane back, his jaw would drop like a drawbridge, and then, in one fluid, powerful thrust, the sabers would descend. Not to crush bone, to avoid it. They would slide into the soft tissue of the neck, severing the windpipe, the major arteries. Death was not slow. It was a quiet, internal drowning, a surgical strike from a living weapon. This was his throne. This perfect, brutal efficiency. For over 2 million years, this was how the world worked. He was the undisputed master of the Americas, from the forests of Pennsylvania to the plains of Peru. His reign was absolute. But what was it like to be him? Let's not just think of him as a killer. Let's give him a life. Let's call him Sable, for the dark, deadly curve of his sabers. Dawn. The light filters through the coastal redwoods. Sable stirs from his rest, his heavy body stretching, muscles rippling under a coat thick and brindled for camouflage. He is not alone. Unlike most cats, Smilodon was likely social. Evidence from the La Brea tar pit shows individuals with healed debilitating injuries, a broken leg that had mended, a shattered jaw that had fused. These are injuries you do not survive alone. You survive because your family, your pride brings you food. So, Sable is not a lone wolf. He is a patriarch, a brother, a protector. He shares his world with his kin. He communicates with rumbling purrs, with low chuffs, with the language of a family. He is gentle with his cubs, who play fight with their tiny, still-growing sabers, learning the delicate balance of their future weapons. His world is a rich tapestry of sound and smell. The trumpeting of mastodons, the grunting of giant ground sloths, the thunder of bison herds so vast they darken the plains. This is a world of giants, and Sable and his kind are the only things that keep them in check. He hunts not out of malice, but out of a deep, ingrained necessity. When he brings down a camel or a young mammoth, the pride feasts. The air fills with the sound of tearing flesh and contented rumbles. Vultures circle overhead. The cycle is complete. In this moment, lying in the sun, his belly full, his family safe around him, he is the very embodiment of success. He is the pinnacle. Evolution has crafted him, and his world has sustained him. It is a perfect, bloody, and beautiful balance. He has no concept of an end. How could he? His kind have ruled for millennia. The future is just more of this, more dawns, more hunts, more generations. This is his truth. It is the only truth he has ever known. But thrones, no matter how strong, can crumble, and the first cracks were so small he wouldn't have even noticed them. It started with the weather. The great ice sheets, his kingdom's glittering crowns, began to shrink. The world, for so long locked in a deep freeze, was warming. This wasn't the sudden event. It was a slow, creeping fever in the heart of the earth. The grasslands, the vast, open buffets where the mega-herbivores grazed, began to change. Forests started to creep in. The landscape was becoming patchy, less predictable. The great herds of mammoths and mastodons, the bison and the camels, found their corridors of migration disrupted. Their numbers began to thin. Not a crash, not yet. A slow, steady decline. And then, a new sound. A sound that didn't belong. The crack of stone on stone. The murmur of a language that was not growl, nor chirp, nor trumpet. It was the sound of a new predator. They came across the land, bridged from a world he had never known. They walked on two legs. They were frail, with no claws, no fangs, but they carried sharpened sticks and held fire in their hands. And they had a mind that could see patterns, predict movements, and plan in ways no animal ever could. At first, they were just curiosities, another creature in a world full of creatures. But Sable would soon learn. These newcomers were hunting his prey. They were taking the mammoths, the bison, the very foundation of his kingdom. They weren't just hunting for a meal. They were hunting for survival, for tools, for glory. Their efficiency was terrifying. This was the perfect storm. A changing climate was squeezing the great herds from one side, and a new, intelligent competitor was squeezing them from the other. The kingdom's larders were beginning to empty. And this is where the king's greatest strength became his most fatal flaw. Sable was a specialist. He was the ultimate specialist. His entire body, his wrestling frame, his immense neck, his beautiful, terrible sabers were a perfect key for a single lock, the lock of bringing down giant, slow-reproducing mega-herbivores.
He was a master craftsman in a world that was suddenly shutting down his craft. What was he to do? Chase deer through the newly thickened forests? He was not built for that. A jaguar, a cougar, they were generalists. They were adaptable. They could switch from a tapir to a monkey to a rodent. They could survive the collapse of the world of giants. Sable could not. Imagine the confusion, the hunger, the desperation. The familiar trails of the great herds grew cold. The watering holes were quieter. His pride grew thin. Their ribs began to show. The cubs, who once played without a care, now muled with a constant, jawing hunger. And then, the final, cruelest